I took a half look out of one eye and saw a text from Johnny Mac. Reagor traded to the Vikings. Okay. I know we'll be talking about that tomorrow. Thank you very much for keeping me updated, Mr. McMullen. It finally came down. We've been talking about it after its first year. People started speculating with the Eagles deal Jalen Reagor. After its second year, the price came down significantly. But I give Howie Roseman credit. I give all you media guys who were spouting the fact that they were close to getting a Jalen Reagor deal done. And good morning, Birds 365 fans. Appreciate you streaming in here with Mac and Mac, John McMullen, and Jody McDonald. Well, we got a lot to sink our teeth into today. Johnny Mac's been a busy boy over the last 24, 48 hours. A lot of comings and goings with the Eagles and the entire National Football League because that's what happens at this time of year. That's the way they put out their rules. That's how they have to create their rosters. And I think it's a really good thing, not just for us, but for football fans in general. It gives you something to pay strict attention to. Just a quick behind-the-scenes thing. Yours truly works Monday and Tuesday nights on WIP. So I'm up till after 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm back up at 6:15 to get ready to do this show. So I get a nap on the days that I'm up till 2 o'clock in the morning in the previous. So yours truly was sound asleep yesterday when I heard my phone buzz. So I took a half look out of one eye and saw a text from Johnny Mac. Reagor traded to the Vikings. Okay. I know we'll be talking about that tomorrow. Thank you very much for keeping me updated, Mr. McMullen. It finally came down. We've been talking about it after its first year. People started speculating with the Eagles deal Jalen Reagor. After its second year, the price came down significantly. But I give Howie Roseman credit. I give all you media guys who were spouting the fact that they were close to getting a Jalen Reagor deal done, and they did. Not a hefty return for Reagor, actually a pretty poor one. And I got to tell you this, John. I don't know if people and everybody reported, including yourself, are just following the Eagles' lead because I'm sure they wrote the release this way. Jalen Reagor traded for a fifth-round pick that can de-escalate to a sixth-round pick. I don't know about you, but every single trade I've ever seen, it was a conditional pick.
Yeah, that was my
started
first.
with the lesser pick, and it could escalate to a better pick.
Yeah.
But yesterday, when the Eagles announced it, it was a fifth-round pick that can de-escalate to a sixth-round.
Well,
stop
real quick. You're right. You're 100% right. That's what I was going to laugh about, but it was it's a fourth-round pick from the Eagles' perspective that can de-escalate to a fifth-round pick.
Sorry.
And they got a seventh-round pick. So you're right. I was asking around. Look, when it was first reported, Adam Schefter was the first who had the details, and you can tell where Adam got them. He got them from the Eagles. He didn't get them from Kwesi Odopa-Mensah, because I have never heard of a de-escalating conditional pick. So I give Howie credit for inventiveness there. But it's a conditional 5. And who knows? I don't know the statistical measurements. Maybe it's more likely to be a 4 than a 5. I don't know. I don't know that at that point. I imagine we'll find it out at some point relatively soon, from one side or the other. But I asked around, and I asked Zach Berman, our buddy, because he's really good at minutia. He just remembers everything. He's got a tremendous memory. I think I have a good memory, but he's got a steel trap. I have never heard of a de-escalating conditional pick. So, when everybody's lauding Howie Roseman, and look, I've been on board on this show. I think he's people say top 10. I think top 5. And I got crushed for it, believe me. Now they're on board. Again, I'll wait for my apology. But not because of this trade. Although that was very, very inventive. And people are doing circles because they think. I will give Howie, and look, I knew he's gotten offers. He's gotten multiple offers for Jalen Reagor. And he was holding out for what he wanted was a conditional 4 that could move to a 3. That's what he wanted. Dating back to the the trade deadline last year, Baltimore was very interested, but they weren't going to go to that price. And Howie was waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. He was never going to cut him. And once, teams around the NFL know, well, they're not cutting him. He in the past they did it with Eric Rowe, somebody like that. Once you keep somebody on the 53 and clearly indicate that you're going to keep them unless you give us something. So that kind of spawned the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, I've said it from the start. It's the best path for both sides. Change of scenery. I don't know. I don't know how Jalen's going to handle going to Justin Jeffersonville, because that's all he's heard about for 2 years. But Minnesota needs a punt returner. He's going to be the punt returner. He's going to be the fourth receiver. So there's not going to be any pressure on him. They have Jefferson. They have Adam Thielen. They have KJ Osborne. He's never going to see a double team in the rest of his life, at least there. He's got a high volume thrower, which I talked about. If he can't succeed there, he's not going to succeed. And I'm rooting for him because he's a nice kid and he's a hard worker. And I think that part is, I've said it numerous times on this show, completely unfair. Those who said he didn't perform, that's fair. But, that Giants game, for instance, with the 2 drops, I just gave him a ton of respect. That was COVID. He could have hid in the locker room. We can't get in the locker room. He came out. He spoke. He's had a lot of tragedy in his life. Lost 2 close friends, Jeff Gladney most recently in a car accident. Lost his grandmother. He's had a lot of issues off the field. I'm rooting for him, and I know Eagles fans aren't, but I hope he does well. But he didn't perform here, and that part of it's fair.
And one thing you could see yesterday with the limited media availability they gave some of you guys for Eagle players, to a man, it seemed like every one of his teammates was pulling for him.
Yeah.
That they think that change of scenery could help him and they want to see him do well. So you're right. I think he was a pretty well-liked guy in the locker room, and anyone who suggested that he wasn't trying his hardest or didn't have the right attitude to play, I'm with you. I think it's just resentment because he didn't produce. But the bottom line is he didn't produce.
No, that's
good
fair.
Guys, work hard. That's nice. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. First-round pick who produced as little as he did is not going to be appreciated, overly appreciated. You shouldn't be picked on, and people shouldn't make stuff up about you. You're right. But sorry, the Jalen Reagor experiment here in Philadelphia was a failure. And whether Howie got a pick that can potentially de-escalate or not, I'm sorry, 2 years later for a first-round draft pick, any way you slice it, it's not good. Howie's doing a saving face deal is what this is. This isn't a turn around and get better for it type deal. You used the first round pick 2 years ago, and the guy gave you basically diddly squad over those 2 years. Jalen, good luck. We wish you luck. We're pulling for you, but you will not be missed here in Philadelphia. One thing you did say I got to follow up on, though, and it plays both in Minnesota and Philadelphia. He will be the Viking punt returner.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the things we did get to see here in Philadelphia the last 2 years, and add that to the fact that he didn't make enough plays from the line of scrimmage. He's not a real good punt returner. Why is he just being penned in as a punt returner anywhere at this stage of his career?
The same reason he was going to be the punt returner here.
He can catch him
if he stayed, because he's the best option. They had a kid out there, Emir Smith-Marset, who they cut once they got Jalen Reagor. He was disaster in the preseason. Fumbles all over the place. Yeah, I mean, the Eagles don't have a punt returner. They don't have a punt returner.
That's going to be my next question, bud.
Britton Kobe, maybe he gets elevated. They have an open roster spot. But he did nothing. He can catch the ball. So at least you have the security part of it. But he did not look like an NFL player to me in training camp. maybe you throw Kenny Gainwell back there, but I've seen him catch punts in practice, but I've never seen it in a game. Devontae Smith can do it, but you're not going to waste Devontae Smith, obviously.
I wouldn't say waste. I'd say risk.
All right, that's maybe a better word, but I'm not risking my top tier receiver as a punt returner. So right now, and again, there's time. You probably want to have your roster situated by Wednesday of next week when you start really ramping up, preparing for the opener, season opener in Detroit. I imagine it'll be clear by that point who they want. Nick Sirianni is going to talk later this morning. So I'm sure he's going to get asked that question, and I'm sure he's going to not tell us, but he'll get asked the question.
Competitive advantage.
Yeah. Probably because he doesn't know.
That too. He won't say it that way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I don't. I don't know. Maybe they'll have open tryouts today at practice, and just put everybody back there. Maybe there's one of the defensive backs that has a history, but they haven't been doing it as a punt returner. Yeah, and Minnesota was the same way.
Did Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, did he return punts in high school?
Can we find out about that? I mean, you start thinking about athletes, but that's a position where back to Reno Mahe, when people would be upset, that's a position where you got to have security first and then hopefully something else. And maybe that's how Britton Kobe gets on this team, because Britton Kobe, I know, can catch the football. I don't know if he can do anything else at this level, but I know he'll catch the punt. And maybe they just default to that until they can find somebody better. In Minnesota, yeah, same situation. And they don't have the history, but remember, I say it all the time with Derek Barnett here. He's not a first round pick there. He's coming in as a reclamation project. There's not going to be these high expectations. He's expected to be the fourth receiver. So it's a different situation there than it is here. And maybe he can excel with less pressure. I don't know, but he does. And you saw it with the punt return in Green Bay as a rookie. You saw it last year. He had a 40-yard punt return. He does have some explosion, but boy, he makes bad decisions, at least here. And that part of it is, who knows? If Greg Ward stayed healthy, he'd probably be the punt returner, but he's not healthy.
And he's still on the team, but it does not look good for him returning either punts and or just returning to the Eagles. All right, one other quickie before I punch up our first guest, which will be Mike Gill, our buddy from down the shore, the Sports Bash. Ian Book? Really?
Well,
Ian Book,
you're not going to like this, dude.
Spot? We debate on whether you need 2 or 3 quarterbacks. The coach preferred the organization like to. Ian Book, those 53-man roster spots are I think pretty important. Ian Book,
you're not going to like this, Jody. They did claim Kellen Mond, but they lost to Cleveland because they were 19th on the waiver wire. I forget what Cleveland was, but obviously they're ahead of the Eagles. And once they didn't get Kellen Mond, then they shifted towards Ian Book. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't think there's a ton of upside with Ian Book. I get from the trade standpoint why they may have they claim Mund and people get same thing with Minnesota. They think, all right, this guy's got traits. The Eagles screwed it up. We can fix it. Same thing. Eagles are thinking, well, Minnesota screwed it up. We can fix them. Quarterback factory. I see the upside from a trade standpoint with Kellen Mond. I don't see that with Ian Book. I'm with you. Nick Sirianni, said he's comfortable with 2 quarterbacks on the 53, but he's not in charge of the 53. Howie Roseman's in charge of the 53. And they had to cut Davion Taylor, and we'll see if they're able to get him back on the practice squad. But now, same thing. You're talking about a traits player with Davion Taylor, and teams might get enamored with that. So don't be surprised if he can't clear waivers, and all of a sudden you lose. I don't want to overstate it because Davion Taylor hasn't, lit the world on fire, but he's got more traits to play in the NFL than Ian Book at his position.
Right.
So,
and Taylor, at least I shouldn't speak for you. I knock and mock the way the Eagles use preseason games as a non-event and not preparation for any of their key players going into the season. Oh, it is important to those who aren't starters, who aren't given with roles, and I think that was proven by Davion Taylor.
Yeah,
John, he stunk in all 3 games.
In the game.
He just wasn't not great. He was flat out bad, and that's why he's an ex-Eagle. Yeah. So I will give the Eagles a tip of the cap that they do at least review the tape after the game is over and done with and go, man, that's not what we taught him. How the hell did he end up over here? He's supposed to be over there.
Well, this is how I described it, Jody. I'm with you. Preseason games don't matter for the Eagles when you do things well, but they do when you do things poorly. And it's a little bit weird because, they don't care. You run for 67 yards and a touchdown. They don't care if you have a big home run like Reed Sinnett and Devin Allen, but they care if you look really, really bad in preseason games. And you're right. The first 2 weeks in practice, Davion Taylor looked great. And then he gets to the preseason games and he looks terrible. So I don't want to overstate it, like I said, and say losing Davion Taylor's the end of the world, because it's not. But he's really athletic. And if that light ever turns on somewhere, I would like to have him just because of those traits. But, I'm not going to lose sleep that you don't have him.
If he clears waivers, you think he's back on the practice squad? Because there's a whole bunch of questions I want to ask you about the practice squad, and we got our first guest coming. But they do have 1 spot left on the practice squad. They only brought in 1 player.
Yeah, they had 2 spots. So yeah, they have because Matt Leo's got an exemption in perpetuity, evidently. So they have 2 spots on the practice squad. Yeah, and I think they'll try to bring Davion back. There's always a concern when you get cut. Look, he might look around, even if it's practice squad, even if he doesn't get claimed, and say, the Eagles cut me, I want to go somewhere else, But I would think they would want him back if they can get him back on the practice squad.
Like LaMichael Pirine, who came in from the Jets, the only non-former Eagle who was in camp all year with the Eagles, who is on their practice squad. They only reached out and took someone off somebody else's cut list, not via claim for the 53, but via the practice squad. So my guess is, unless some team is either going to claim Davion Taylor or really make a push to get him on their practice squad, he'll probably be back here because the Eagles were good at bringing back all of their guys. That is kind of important if you want continuity, and I think the Eagles do lean heavily on continuity, even from preseason into filling out the practice squad. All right, John McMullen, Jody McDonald. We got a lot to discuss today with as many moves as the Eagles have made. Some pretty big will have an effect on the Eagles immediately. Some down the road. Some are basically filling out paperwork. But sorry for you guys on the practice squad, where I don't think we'll ever see the 53-man this year. Hey, you're still in the National Football League. You're still getting paid to practice. Good on you. More power to you if that's what you want to do. First guest coming up, we got Mike Gillup from the Sports Bash down the shore. A little later on in the show, we'll have our buddy Dave Zangaro from NBC Sports today. So we've got a good show planned for you. He's McMullen, I'm McDonald. It's Mac and Mac Birds 365.